Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about all of my Disney theme park trips that I've taken so far, and I'm going to just give you some highlights about what I liked about what we did, what I didn't like, and maybe some of our favorite things. So I'm basically going to talk about the main things like how we got there, how we got around when we were there, where we stayed, and if there were any key things from each trip, okay? So the first one was Walt Disney World, July 1982. And that one you can hear more about in detail in my video, Misadventures in Travel, First Florida Trip Fail. That was not a very positive trip. And that one was limited to a 1 day at Magic Kingdom. I'm pretty sure. I don't think we went more than 1 day. And I remember almost nothing about it, except for the incident that I described in that video that happened at lunch, and the fact that it was very hot and very crowded. I'm assuming we got there with our rental car. We had gone to my aunt and uncle's condo on the beach, and then we had gone to Magic Kingdom on our way back to the airport. I just remembered something else from that. In fact, yeah, I think we went just the 1 day. And I remember another sad thing from that trip. I begged my dad for one of those Mickey ear balloons. One of those, they're shaped like a Mickey ears, and it was red. And he told me I could get it when we left the park. Okay? And I think then what happened was we stayed overnight, just one night in a hotel, and then our flight was back home the next morning. Because I remember we had to return our rental car. And when we were at the rental car place, and I don't know if this is right, my dad told me that I would not be able to take the balloon on the plane. And I was really, really sad. And I don't know if that's true. Does anybody know? Will they let you take a helium balloon on a plane? I don't know. I've never seen them, and I've never thought to ask. But anyway, he told me I wouldn't be able to take my Mickey balloon, my red Mickey-shaped balloon on the plane. And so while we were returning the car at the car rental place, he told me I could write my name and address on a note and tie it to the string and let it go, which we now know is horrible for the environment and wildlife. But don't do that, folks. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, that'll be fun. And then somebody will write to me and say they found my balloon. So I wrote the note, and we tied it to the string, and I let it go. And now this is right near the airport in Orlando or whatever, so it was kind of busy. And it got caught on the power line. And I was so sad, because remember, I'm 9. I was so sad, and I'm oh. And after a minute, the wind blew, and the note fell off, and the balloon flew away. So that was another bummer part of that trip, because not only did I not get to take my balloon home, but the whole idea of writing the note was a bust, because the note fell off and fell at my feet or whatever. So yeah, that was another fail. And that was about it for that trip. I mean, we just went to Magic Kingdom the 1 day. I'm assuming we were staying at some offsite hotel. We rented a car. There was no transporting around Disney World because we didn't stay there, and there weren't any other parks. Okay, the second one was 1991, and I've mentioned this one in another video too. And I think it was November. My dad had down in a document he made for me of my childhood travels to help me refresh my memory. He said December. I don't know which is right. It was not at a holiday. We weren't there over Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was either early November or between Thanksgiving and Christmas is when we went. And I remember that time we drove all the way from Wisconsin, which I do not recommend. I did not like doing that. I don't want to do that again. And we stayed on site at Caribbean Beach Resort, which I really, really liked. And that was my first taste of, what this experience can be like when you stay on site and you're in the Disney bubble. I really enjoyed the theming at Caribbean Beach. I haven't been back since. and now it's all under construction and everything, but I really would like to go back and stay there the next time we go because, and I'm hoping that the price doesn't go way up with the Skyliner construction getting finished. Fingers crossed. Because I don't want to stay in a value resort and the moderates are all I can afford. So I really hope the moderate prices don't go up with all the changes. But anyway, we stayed at Caribbean Beach and I just really liked the theming. I really liked staying there. I really liked being in the Disney bubble. I really liked taking the bus to the parks, and the convenience of that. And I think at that time it was Magic Kingdom and Epcot. And at the time it was Disney's MGM Studios. And I remember I really liked MGM Studios. I really liked that whole movie set, Art Deco theming. Like, it was really more, it was a working movie studio on TV studio at that time. And I just thought that was all really cool. I've never been to one of those in California, so that was really neat for me. And it was me, my dad, and my boyfriend. I was like 19 years old. And we had a lot of fun. The crowds were low. The weather was nice. That was a very good trip. So I don't remember anything about dining with that trip, but aside from getting there in our car, which I didn't like, I liked that we stayed on site. I liked that we used the Disney transportation, got to go to more than one park at that point because the first time we went, there was only one park. Okay, the third trip I took was to Disneyland in California. And this was, again, just a one-day trip. Disney's California Adventure had not been built yet. This was in March of 1994. And the reason we were in the LA area was for my cousin's wedding. My cousin was getting married at the Crystal Cathedral, which is very close to Disneyland. And so we were staying at some hotel near there, and we had a rental car. And we had some extra time. I don't know if we planned ahead of time to do this or what, but we decided to go to Disneyland one day. And my dad had been there before, but I had never been there. And so I would have been like 21 years old, 22, something like that. And it was me, my dad, my cousin, Jana, and her boyfriend who went. And I don't remember really much about it at all. But I think we had fun. I mean, I really don't remember much about it. I mean, I have no idea. Like, I don't remember the rest. Because I can tell you the next time I went to Disneyland with my kids, it was all new to me. Like, it didn't imprint or something. I don't know why I didn't remember that trip at all. Maybe we just weren't there long enough. But anyway, the next one was January of 2000. And we went back to Walt Disney World. And I should tell you, it's a shorter flight for us from Minneapolis, which is our home airport technically, to Orlando than it is to Los Angeles. So it's usually, almost always, less expensive to get flights to Disney World than it is to get them to Disneyland. And the flight's shorter. Okay, so January 2000, that was my dad, me, and my son Andrew, who at the time had just turned 3. His birthday's in December. That was a great trip. We stayed off-site, I don't know where, and it was one of these where, and see, I don't know why I didn't remember this on this other trip that we took later, I'll tell you about, but it had a shuttle bus, but I think it was one of these where the shuttle bus only went once in the morning and then once in the evening. And I do remember that shuttle bus, it wasn't specific to our hotel. We stopped every morning and picked other people up at other hotels, like 3 other ones. So it was some kind of shuttle service. It was a big coach bus. But I think our hotel was first. And so we got on first, and then we had to sit on the bus while we stopped at like 2 or 3 other hotels and picked people up every morning. And then they dropped us off at, I don't know if it went to more than one park. I know we always got on it to go back at Epcot, because on that particular trip, we got a park hopper tickets. And it was January, and so the parks closed relatively early because the reason the Disney parks close when they do is because of when it gets dark. Because every night they have fireworks. And so they can't do the fireworks until it gets dark. And so the reason that Disney parks are open, till like 10 at night or 11 at night in the summer is because they have to let it get dark before they can shoot the fireworks off. So in the winter, like in January, they close much earlier because they don't need to be open that long because they can set the fireworks off at 7 or 8 or whatever. So, Magic Kingdom and MGM Studios and Animal Kingdom would have been open then too. They opened in 1998. Those were all open, so I think we went to all of them. And we would go to either Magic Kingdom, MGM Studios, or Animal Kingdom, and then we would park hop over to Epcot afterwards. We were like really energetic. Every day we did that with a 3-year-old. And I remember Andrew would always fall asleep in the stroller at the end of the night because we would stay until Epcot closed because Epcot would always close the latest. And I think that was because of like the World Showcase restaurants and bars and stuff. And I remember they had this cool parade at Epcot around World Showcase then. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about? It was at night and people walked around. It was like all different countries and stuff represented. And I remember there being people on stilts and stuff, and they would walk all the way around the World Showcase, and it was really cool. And I don't know what that was. If anybody knows, put it in the comments below. Anyway, this was 2000. And the other key thing I remember about that trip was that was the first time I ever had a character meal. And we did that because of Andrew's age. And I remember after the trip was over, my dad and I said to each other that we were so happy that we had booked those character meals. I think we went to Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary Resort, and I think we did one other one, but I don't remember what it was. And I remember we both said that we were really happy that we booked those because Andrew just really enjoyed them. He was like at the perfect age to really get a kick out of the characters coming around and everything. And we really, really liked him too. So that was a highlight of that trip. And I just remember we spent like every waking minute in the parks. And I can remember holding Andrew at night, waiting for the shuttle bus to come and pick us up at Epcot because he was asleep. But we had a lot of fun and the weather was great. It's very refreshing and nice to go to Florida in January when you live in Wisconsin because it's very cold and very not pleasant in Wisconsin in January. And so to go there and have palm trees and warmth and everything. And like I can remember we would wear shorts, but we would wear like sweatshirts in the morning when it was cooler, and then we would tie them around our waists and then we would put them back on once it got dark. And we were fine. And like people in Florida would be like, oh, it's so cold because I don't know, it's 60 or something. But to us, it was heaven. So that was a really cool trip too. And I guess, probably the only thing I would have improved on that one is it probably would have been nice to stay on site. But we did fly. We flew there for that one. So, and we must have, we didn't use a rental car. I don't know if we rented a car. If we didn't, I don't know how we got to our hotel. Whatever it was. But anyway, okay. The next one was also Walt Disney World, and it was November of 2003, so 3 years later. And at this point, I was married. I got married in 2002. Is that right? My marriage is a distant memory. It was me, my husband, my dad again. Andrew at this time was 6, almost 7, and I was pregnant with Megan. And I remember being bummed because we planned the trip before I got pregnant. And I didn't intend to be pregnant when we went to Disney World. And we wanted to have more kids, but my husband actually had an issue and had to have surgery. And so she was kind of a pleasant surprise because we didn't think that after the surgery, stuff. But anyway, it was quicker than we expected. That one we made a mistake. we decided we don't need to rent a car. And this was before ride-sharing services. And we took a cab, I think, from the airport to our hotel, and we stayed off-site. I want to say it was like a Hampton Inn or something. And we expected that it was going to be, and this is why I say I don't know why I didn't remember this, because 3 years earlier we knew that the shuttle bus was only in the morning and at night, so I don't know if I forgot that or what. But we got there, and I remember when we got there from the airport, it was the middle of the day, and we were upset and surprised, stupidly, that the shuttle bus from this hotel was only once in the morning and once at night to bring you back. Because we thought it was going to be like a constant thing. And I think there are some offsite hotels that do have that, but this wasn't one of them. And I don't know if I had misunderstood that when I made the reservation or what. So we were frustrated because we wanted to go to the park that day. And we ended up taking the Orlando Public City bus to get there. I remember that. We went to lunch. We walked to lunch at some buffet restaurant like across the street from our hotel. And then we waited at an actual bus stop and took the bus. And then after that, then we knew when the bus was, so then we took it each day. And again, all 4 parks were open. I don't remember a ton about this trip because I couldn't go on a lot of stuff because I was pregnant. And so one thing I remember about that trip is sitting on a bench a lot, waiting for the 3 guys to get off rides that I couldn't go on because I was pregnant. And I probably was being more cautious than I needed to be because I don't think I was showing enough that the Disney cast members necessarily would have stopped me and said, oh, ma'am, you're pregnant. You shouldn't go on this. But because I would have been like, I would have been like 5 months along maybe. But I just was cautious. And if it had the warning on the sign saying you shouldn't go on this if you're pregnant, I didn't. So it really kind of limited me. And other than that, I don't remember a lot about that trip. I had really bad all-day morning sickness with all 3 of my pregnancies, so I might not have felt too good too. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. And again, that one, I regretted staying off-site. I'm sure it saved us a bunch of money, but I didn't. I wish we would have stayed on site. Okay. The next one was 6 years later, 2009, January. And this was that one and only big trip that our family took as a family of 5 while I was still married. Me, my husband, and all 3 kids. Andrew had just turned 12 because he would have turned 12 in December. Megan was 4 and Ben was less than 1. He would not turn 1 until March. This was the probably most expensive Disney trip I've ever taken. We stayed at the Yacht Club in a very nice room facing, had a balcony on like the top floor, and we faced the lighthouse where you get on the boat to go over to Boardwalk and Epcot and Hollywood Studios. That was our room. It was really nice. And this one, in my video, Misadventures in Travel Vomiting on Vacation, I talk about this stay because this is the one where the kids were sick. And we had the vomiting and the diarrhea and everything. And I tipped our housekeeper very generously because we basically trashed all the bedding. So anyway, that was unfortunate. We had the deluxe meal plan, the deluxe dining plan. I think this was the first time I'd gotten the dining plan. And, well, maybe. No, it had to be because you have to stay on site to get the dining plan. And then, I mean, unless we had it back at that time when we went when I was 19. I don't know. I don't know if it existed. I don't know. We did a lot of dining because we had the deluxe dining plan. I remember we had a ton of snack credits left over, and I was in the gift shop like buying treats before we left because we had a lot of snacks left over. We had the Ben's first haircut in the Main Street Barbershop in Magic Kingdom. That was kind of neat. We also let Megan go to Bibbidi Boppity Boutique in the castle, and she got all done up as Sleeping Beauty. Hang on. Different level packages you can get at Bibbidi Boppity Boutique, but one of them included, whatever the one was we got, included a portrait session. So there's Megan all done up. We got more pictures than this. This one I have in a frame in my bedroom. She's 4 years old, and there she is done as Sleeping Beauty, which I should also tell you that she later played Sleeping Beauty, Aurora, at an event we have at our children's theater that we're part of. Every January we do a princess party. She was Aurora 2 years ago, and last year she was Elsa. So anyway, she does a very good job. She knows her Disney stuff. So that was it was a good all-around trip, but it was very expensive. We probably went a little overboard, more than we needed to. I think I was so excited that it was me and my husband and my all 3 kids, and I really wanted to do it up, and it was probably too much. And the fact that basically everybody but Andrew got sick was not great. But I liked staying on site. I liked taking advantage of the Disney transportation. We had the photo pass. I mean, we got everything. So yeah, it was a big Disney trip. Okay, then the next one was August 2012. And this was, my husband had been gone for a couple of years already. Our divorce wasn't final for like another year, but he wasn't around. And this was the first trip that I took, and I've mentioned this before too, where I took a trip on a plane somewhere far by myself with all 3 kids. And I was very proud of myself that I managed to do that. At the time, Andrew was 15, Megan was 8, and Ben was 4. And Cars Land had just opened at Disneyland, and I think that was part of our motivation for going when we did. Ben really liked cars, and I remember this one, his one big souvenir he got, he still has it downstairs, was Mac, the truck from Cars, and the side opens up and you can fit all the little, like they're not Matchbox cars, but Matchbox size cars of all the other cars that are in the movie Cars inside Mac, like a kind of a Hot Wheels case kind of thing, but Mac drives and all that, and he really was excited. When I bought him that, we took advantage of the package service because we were staying at Paradise Pier Resort Hotel. So we bought it and had it delivered to the room, and it was there the next day. He was so excited to get it. He actually fell asleep, and I have a picture of him asleep holding his Mack truck because he fell asleep. We flew, obviously. We just took the Disney. It's actually through Greyline Tours. It's called Disney's Disneyland Resort Express. It's a bus service. It's kind of like Disney's Magical Express, except it's not free. From LAX to Disneyland and back again. So we did not leave Disneyland property at all. And if all you're doing is going to Disneyland and you're not doing anything else in LA, I would recommend that. And so we got there like on a Tuesday, and I think we went back on a Saturday. Okay, we went the very last week of August. Now, there was good and bad in that. We don't start school until after Labor Day here. It's actually a law in Wisconsin that schools can't start until after Labor Day because of the tourism industry or whatever. Although school districts can get exceptions to that for certain reasons. A lot of times it's because of like construction. But I looked it up before we went, and most of the LA area public school districts were already back in session. So the crowd levels at Disneyland while we were there were not bad at all. It was, however, an abnormally, exceptionally hot week. The Disneyland cast members were like dying. It was like 100, 110. And they were commenting on it to us like, oh my gosh, it's usually 72 all the time. And it's so hot. And we managed because it does get very hot and humid here sometimes. And I remember we rode certain rides a lot. We rode the Under the Sea ride, the Little Mermaid ride in California Adventure a lot. It was air conditioned. It was cool. It's a dark ride, and it almost never had a line. We just walked right on. Oh, and I remember we saw Denise Richards, the actress, and her daughters getting off of that ride right as we got on one day. So that was kind of funny. And we rode Pirates of the Caribbean like 7, 8 times because it was cool and it was dark. And so we just did stuff like that. We rode the stuff that was cool and to get out of the heat. And the other thing is when we would start to get grumpy, we would stop and get a snack and get something to drink and sit in the shade, and then we were fine. And we pretty much did park open to park close Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, Tuesday we got there like noon. I remember we got there, we checked into our hotel, and the first thing we did was go to Disney California Adventure and go to Flo's Cafe for lunch, and then rode Radiator Springs Racers right away. So that was like the first thing we did because we were really excited about that. And I think we did each park twice. So we did California Adventure, Disneyland. Yeah, we did. We did Disneyland Wednesday, California Adventure again all day Thursday, Disneyland all day Friday. And then Saturday was our flight home because it would have been like Labor Day weekend and we needed to get home because school was going to start on Tuesday. And we just hung out in downtown Disney and went in the big Disney store and bought souvenirs. And I remember we went to see Brave in the AMC movie theater, even though we'd already seen it at home, just again to escape the heat. And we had a really good time. We liked Paradise Pier Hotel a lot. It was a little farther walk than I anticipated. And for a little 4-year-old Ben, that was kind of hard on him. One day, I don't remember what day it is, we left in the middle of the day, went back to the hotel, swam in the pool, and then went back again. And that was almost kind of a mistake because then he wanted to do that every day because he really liked swimming in the pool. But we never did swim in the pool again because I didn't want to waste our limited park time. And Disneyland has a lot of rides. There are way more rides packed into Disneyland than at Disney World. I think if you add them up, there's more, even though Disney World has 4 parks. Disneyland itself, the park is very dense with rides. And I'm actually kind of worried about them adding Galaxy's Edge there because I'm really afraid it's going to get too crowded. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I like to give it a year or two before a new land opens, after a new land opens, before we go, because I don't want to, like, we've been waiting on Pandora for a while before we go back at Animal Kingdom, and like the new Fantasyland, it was announced and there were signs up for it when we went in 2009. And then when we went in 2015, which was the next trip, it was all done, but it had been open for a year or so. And so it wasn't like a madhouse, stuff like that. So I don't like going when stuff is brand new. Although I guess this time we did go, Cars Land had been open like maybe 6 months, 4 months or something like that. It was, the lines for Radiator Springs Racers were long. That first day we stood and waited in line, and I think we waited over an hour. But after that, we went on it like once or twice more, and we got fast passes. So Disneyland still has the paper fast pass system. They have Max Pass now too, but you can still use the traditional paper fast passes too, and that's what we did. Other highlights from that one, I don't know. It was just a really fun trip because it was me and my 3 kids, and we figured out that we can do this. We can do big trips together, and we really enjoyed it. And I like Disneyland because it's more compact. The parks are literally just across a little esplanade from each other. You can park hop very easily. You want a park hopper at Disneyland. And it's very walkable. I didn't even get a stroller. When we went to Disney World, 3 years before that, I had strollers for both kids, 4 and a baby, and needed them. But at Disneyland, even though Ben was only 4, we never did get a stroller, and he was fine. He was a little trooper because it's very walkable and compact. And the only thing that I don't like as much about Disneyland is I find that dining there is difficult. They don't have as many table service restaurants. They don't have as much selection. And I just found we had a couple of reservations. I remember we never did go to our Ariel's Grotto reservation because I don't remember why. I just decided I didn't want to do it. And we went to the Mickey breakfast at our hotel, and I think we did one other character meal or something like that. I don't know. But I remember dining is challenging there. There's not as much choice. I liked staying on site, but now I recognize that there are off-site hotels that are actually physically closer to the entrance to Disneyland than the on-site hotels. That might change when they open this new one that they're building, that they took out part of Downtown Disney for. We'll have to see. But for this next one that we're taking in March for spring break, right now I have a reservation at the Fairfield Inn, which is literally right across the street. So it's like a less than a 5-minute walk. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, that was a good trip. And then the next one, the last one, was back to Walt Disney World, me and the 3 kids, February into March, right at the end of February, happened to be when our break was that year, of 2015, so 3 years ago. And we stayed at Port Orleans Port Orleans Riverside. And I had requested a room in the mansion side because I was more interested in that style. And when we checked in at the airport, or when we were waiting at our gate to get on our plane, I got a text from Disney saying our room was ready because we had magic bands. And so technically you can just go to your room. You don't even have to go to the front desk. And I was disappointed because they gave us a room in Alligator Bayou. But that turned out to be good because, number one, the room that we got happened to be a really quick walk to our bus stop. And our bus stop at that particular room was the first one on the loop around. So we always got a seat on the bus in the morning, which was really nice. And then the other thing that was cool was the Alligator Bayou rooms at Port Orleans Riverside have that extra little fold-down bed, which was perfect for Ben. So then Megan and I shared a queen bed. Andrew, big 6-foot-some Andrew, got his own bed, and Ben had that little fold-down bed. They say that those beds are only good, though, up until you're about 10. So I think by the next time we go, he's going to be too big for it. So I may, if all 4 of us go to Disney World again, as much as I hate to say this, I may end up getting 2 rooms at a value resort instead of staying at a moderate. I don't know. I'll have to see. But that one, we flew there. We stayed on site. We took the Disney's Magical Express. We had the regular dining plan, which was perfect for us. And I got like the dining in a show at Hollywood Studios. So we had lunch at Mama Melrose's, and then we got vouchers for special seating at Fantasmic that night, which was awesome. We had great seats for Fantasmic. I highly recommend that. We did a character meal at Crystal Palace. Oh, we did that in 2009 too. We did a character meal at the one Living with the Land, the rotating one. What's that called? It's got the Mickey characters in their farm gear, and it rotates, and you see the Living with the Land. Oh my gosh, it just flew out of my brain. I can't think of it. It's in Epcot. Gosh, it's bugging me. I can't think of it. And then we did a lot of other dining too, and we went to all 4 parks. Megan rode Expedition Everest like 5 times by herself. She loved that thing. She went once with Andrew, and then Andrew didn't want to go on it again, so she rode it like 4 more times by herself. The real downer in that trip, 2 things. One was that it rained horribly the day we were at Animal Kingdom, and we ended up having to get ponchos, which I brought ponchos. Why didn't I have them with me? Maybe I didn't buy ponchos. Maybe we just put our ponchos on. No, I brought ponchos when we went to Disneyland the time before, and then I didn't bring them when we went to Disney World, I think. I don't know. I just remember we had to buy a poncho. And then the other thing was we just still didn't have enough time. We were there for like 9-10 days, and we still didn't get to do everything we wanted to do. And it's frustrating. And we needed another rest day. We had a rest day in the middle, but I overplanned the rest day. We slept until noon. We were so tired. It was like our 4th day or whatever, and we slept until noon. And we had a lunch reservation at T-Rex in Disney Springs. And we missed it and had to change it to later. And then we had another dining reservation at Boma in Animal Kingdom that night. And so those 2 dining experiences ended up being way too close together. And my lesson from that is don't book 2 table service dining experiences in the same day ever. That's too much. And then we never did get to take advantage of the pool or anything. I don't think I've ever swam at a Disney on-site resort pool, except for Paradise Pier at Disneyland, because we've never had time. We really need to plan in, like every 3rd day, needs to be like a rest non-park day where you just enjoy your resort. Because that day we ended up just hustling to Disney Springs, walking around Disney Springs for a while, and then getting on the bus to Animal Kingdom, having dinner, and then coming back, and our rest day was done. So we didn't really get to rest. So I've never really gotten to enjoy the resorts like I should, and so that's really kind of a priority for me for the next time. So anyway, those are my 6 trips to Walt Disney World and 2 trips to Disneyland, and what I liked and what I didn't like, and what I thought we did right and what I thought we did wrong. Overall, my overall recommendations to you for Disneyland in California: you don't need a car unless you're going to do other things around Los Angeles, and then you definitely need a car. There are multiple ways you can get from the airport to Disneyland, but I would recommend at Disneyland to stay off-site because there are closer and cheaper hotels off-site at Disneyland than their on-site resorts. Definitely get the park hopper at Disneyland, and they don't have a dining plan anymore. So you're paying out of pocket for all your meals at Disneyland, but remember that dining at Disneyland is not anywhere near as extensive as at Disney World. Okay, and then my recommendations for Disney World: stay on site. You do not need a park hopper. I don't get a park hopper there anymore. We got one that one time, and then I don't think we ever got it again because we really like to just stay in one park from open to close, basically. And my recommendations for time, and then get the regular dining plan. Or if you don't want table service restaurants, get the quick service dining plan. But the deluxe dining plan is not necessary. And then I guess my other recommendations for time of year, my favorite times that we went to Disney World were November, not at Thanksgiving, and January were really great times to go. Disneyland, that one day in March we did, so I can't really say for that, but I mean, I think the weather was beautiful. I don't remember what the crowds were like. The end of August was fine. That was a good time to go crowd-wise, but we just had bad luck in that week ended up being really hot. We're going in a kind of a high crowd level time this next time for spring break, so we'll see how that goes. I'm probably going to get the Max Pass because I like to get the photos anyway, and that's included in that. So it'll add $30 a day to our price. What I might do, I might try a day without it, see how it goes, and then say, I kind of want it, and then get it the next day. That's what I might do. Because you can't actually buy the Max Pass or utilize it until you're physically in the park. You can't get it ahead of time like you can at Disney World. So anyway, that's kind of a review of all of my Disney theme park visits, and I hope that you kind of learned something and got some helpful information from these. And yeah, and enjoy your trip to Disney. And I'll keep making more videos if we go again. And have a good day and safe travels.